Hi and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois. President Trump said many times on the campaign trail he could end the war in Ukraine in one day, and he spent a good part of this day working on it.
He started with a phone call to Russian President Vladimir Putin. They agreed to begin negotiations on ending the war and to meet in person for the first time since Mr. Trump's first term.
President Trump then called Ukrainian President Zelensky to inform him about his talks with Putin.
It's been a day of rapid developments as we approach the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Weijia Zhang is at the White House, and Weijia, for a president elected largely on the domestic issues, this is his second major foreign policy move after his proposal to seize Gaza.
Well, John, what's notable about this conversation and negotiations between Trump and Putin is that it upends 3 years of U.S. policy on the war in Ukraine. President Biden refused to speak to Putin after Russia invaded Ukraine back in February 2022. Now, Trump says the two leaders have agreed to work together very closely. An overnight missile attack sparked fires across Kyiv and prompted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to declare Putin is not preparing for peace. He continues to kill Ukrainians and destroy cities. Just hours later, President Trump revealed he and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke by phone for over an hour.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on, this major storm hitting right now, treacherous driving, and now tornado watch is up. Snow and rain about to hit the Northeast. 125 million Americans on alert for the second winter storm and the third storm now right behind it. Tonight, dangerous driving already, snow, flooding, and possible tornadoes now. The storm stretching from the Midwest to the South right into the Northeast tonight. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. He'll time it all out. The breaking headline, President Trump on his 90-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin, talking about ending the war with Ukraine. The president then speaking with President Zelensky after. And when asked today if Russia and Ukraine are equals in this peace effort, President Trump said, that's an interesting question. What the president said about the future of Ukraine. The images coming in, the U.S. military jet crashing, plunging into the water right near a neighborhood. The pilots rescued by boat. Tonight, the U.S. economy, the new report, inflation rising. Families paying more for groceries, used cars, medical bills. Tonight, President Trump, who promised to lower prices on day one, blaming former President Biden and what's being done to bring the prices down. Tonight, the Senate confirming one of President Trump's most controversial nominees, Tulsi Gabbard, now sworn in tonight as Director of National Intelligence. And RFK Jr. crossing a major hurdle tonight on the eve of his confirmation vote. Tonight, the alarming scene, 20 children and adults sickened with carbon monoxide poisoning. 2 fatal train derailments, in one of them 19 cars jumping the tracks. Tonight, hear why Mariah Carey, Cyndi Lauper, and Chubby Checker are all making news. And the winner of the Westminster Dog Show, right here. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir. Good evening. We do begin tonight with this.
Tonight, the major reset with Russia over the Ukraine war. With Kyiv under attack, the president signaling a dramatic to the nearly 3-year-old conflict. President Trump's new phone calls with Russian President Putin and Ukraine's President Zelensky, saying peace negotiations will begin immediately. The Secretary of Defense calling Ukraine's goals unrealistic. Where Trump and Putin could meet next. Plus, the new prisoner exchanges. One teacher now on American soil as another American is released. The nationwide parade of winter storms in the Midwest pileup, stranding drivers. The dramatic flooding in Alabama. Thousands of flights delayed or canceled. Al Roker is here with the latest. The more than 50 lawsuits the Trump White House is now facing, the administration blasting the courts as the, quote, weaponization of justice. Justice Sonia Sotomayor speaking out. We're on the front lines of America's farms, the lengths farmers are going to protect their flocks, and why they say egg prices are soaring. The Navy crew ejecting from their jet before splashing into the Pacific. The outrage over Kanye West's anti-Semitism. How backlash and a viral AI video are renewing the debate over online speech.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. All right, breaking news on the war in Ukraine. President Trump speaking with Russian President Vladimir Putin after the release of American schoolteacher Mark Fogel yesterday. Trump says the two agreed to start negotiating an immediate end to the war. Then shortly after, he spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky, where he was told they're ready for peace. Now, let me catch you up on how we got here. What is the history of this war? A short cliff notes. Back in 2021, Ukraine said Russia had amassed 100,000 troops along its border. That had then President Biden saying this.
I think what you're going to see is that Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having to fight about what to do and not do it.
Minor incursion seeming to get the green light. Now fast forward to February of 2022. Russian troops invaded its neighboring country, starting what is now a 3-year war. It's been a deadly war. 80,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed, and more than 1 million Russian troops are estimated to have lost their lives. So joining me now is former CIA station chief in Moscow, and Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman, and the former USS Cole Commander Kirk Leopold here with us. Dan, today, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, the part that I left out of that brief history is, from Russia's perspective, there was some fear that Ukraine might join NATO, putting NATO on the Russian doorstep. Today, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said that is not in the future for Ukraine. Your thoughts?
Russia's concern about NATO, that's a Kremlin propaganda ploy. Vladimir Putin launched that war to topple the government in Ukraine because what scares him the most is democracy, freedom, liberty, what's enshrined in our Constitution and Bill of Rights. And what he couldn't have is a neighbor like Ukraine with a sizable Russian-speaking population with close ties to Europe, militarily, commercially, and economically.
Wednesday night, Team Canada at the White House. The cautious optimism the premiers can get through to the Trump administration.
Is what I've seen from this president is that he is prepared to make a deal.
The U.S. and Russian presidents talk and agree to work closely together, what it could mean for Ukraine's future.
I think they have to make peace.
Trending in the right direction.
There's still a long way to go.
What's driving down auto thefts in Canada? And canines crowned. The winners of the Westminster Dog Show include a Canadian. Good evening and thanks for joining us. There are some fast moves.
Today, New South Wales police searching for the unedited version of a video which shows 2 nurses threatening to harm Israeli patients. Residents brace for a powerful Category 5 cyclone as Zelia hurtles towards the WA coast. US President Donald Trump promises to start talks to end the Ukraine war after speaking separately to the leaders of Russia and Ukraine. 17 years on from the national apology to the stolen generations, survivors share their harrowing stories. And from the backyard to a courtyard, the push to build more family-friendly apartments to help solve the housing crisis. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ros China.
morning. It is 6 o'clock. Coming up on today's program, Donald Trump's new approach to finding peace in Ukraine.
Plus, we'll get a health check on the economy in the next hour as the latest growth figures are published.
It's Thursday, the 13th of February. In a call with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump vows to start Ukraine peace talks and shares plans for a face-to-face meeting.
We ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia.
We meet the Syrian soldiers seeking justice by hunting down former Assad regime leaders in Damascus. Also ahead, inside the NHS hospital that's outperforming most, but is still on its knees after a difficult winter.
It took 2 hours for the ambulance to get to you.
Well, they did say they had a priority list and I was on it. You've got to think there's lots of people calling ambulance.
Taking inspiration from the King's Dorset town Poundbury, Sir Keir Starmer's plan to build 12 new towns. A very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News Breakfast.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Farry, and this is Daybreak. 12 people are wounded in a grenade blast in a bar in Grenoble in the French Alps. Police say a single assailant threw the munition in the bar in the Olympic Village neighbourhood before leaving. They do not believe the attack was a terrorist incident. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin speak for 90 minutes in the longest discussion between Washington and Moscow in years. Trump says the two will most likely meet in person soon in Saudi Arabia, and that peace talks in the Ukraine war will take place immediately. Paris hosts a conference on the future of Syria. Foreign Minister Assad al-Shabani will join Western and regional counterparts at the summit, which aims to lay out a roadmap for a peaceful transition in the country following the fall of Bashar al-Assad. And in Taiwan, a fleet of lanterns lights up the night sky as locals and tourists mark the end of the Lunar New Year celebrations with the annual Lantern Festival in Pingxi, east of the capital Taipei.
Asia Now.
Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 12:30 in New Delhi and 2 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Latia Silveraji. Your headlines this hour. Suspected gas explosion at a mall in Taiwan leaves at least 5 dead and 7 others injured. President William Lai calls for a speedy investigation into the incident. North Korea is demolishing a site that has 4 decades hosted emotional reunions for families separated by the Korean War. Seoul decried the move as inhumane. A phone call between Trump and Putin signaling a shift in U.S.-Russia relations. The American leader says talks to end the Ukraine war will begin immediately.
Africa News. The news. The Sudanese foreign minister visited Moscow on Wednesday and said he was grateful to Russia for his support in the United Nations Security Council. Ali Yusuf Ahmed al-Sharif, speaking during a joint press conference with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, said that attempt to pass a resolution in the Security Council that will pave the way for international UN forces to intervene in Sudan were blocked by Moscow. Sudan has been unstable since the popular uprising forced the removal of long-term autocratic leader.
Palestinians injured in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza received treatment in the Egyptian city of Al-Arish following their evacuation from the war-torn enclave. Over the past 15 months, Israel's campaign against Hamas in retaliation for the militant October 7th attack on southern Israel has decimated Gaza's health sector. It has left most of its hospitals out of operation, even as more than 110,000 Palestinians were wounded by Israel's bombardment and ground offensives, according to health officials.
The clamor of hammering and the noise of rattling corrugated metal roofs echoed in Goma's Bulengo camp for internally displaced people on Tuesday as residents took down the shelters they had lived in for years. They claimed that on Sunday, M23 rebels supported by Rwanda came to the camp and warned them to leave within 3 days. I don't know if we will make it. I have children, and to my surprise, we are being told to leave, and I have nothing to give the children.
Women and girls in the Central African Republic face significant challenges in accessing reproductive health care and gender-based violence services. But one centre located in Bimbo is providing essential care for these vulnerable women.
Ici, dans notre organisation, Olivier,
Here, when a woman arrives at our centre,
ce que nous on fait ici, quand une femme arrive chez nous,
is suffering
si
from
c'est une femme
injuries or wounds,
victime d'agression
we take her
physique,
in and provide
ça
care.
veut dire il y a les coups et les blessures. La femme arrive ici chez nous. Nous, on la prend.
We identify the
Ce que nous
individual
on
and
fait,
address
on
her urgent
identifie
needs.
la
If she
personne.
has
Il y a les
focus on
blocs
the health aspect by referring her
rapidement,
to
on les
medical
fait
services.
au côté sanitaire.
By combining education, healing and income generation, the Boeing Bimbo Safe Space stands as a beacon of hope, empowering women and girls to rewrite their narratives.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.